Okay, we got a long, awesome, potentially bad, potentially great weekend ahead of us. So, it is time for me to chat about TNA Impact last night. Now, I'm going to discuss this. This was the final TNA Impact that was held over in the UK. This one was held at the Wembley Arena in London, England. And actually, I want to discuss it match by match and tell you what I think, like we normally do on the recaps. AJ will be here in a couple of hours, so we can get our movies on for the week. It's Oscar weekend, and we're watching Snitch and Dark Skies. Doesn't make much sense. And later this week, actually, AJ is going to help me put together my lineups for the different years. So from the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. I'm going to put together my best picture, my best director, my best actor, actress, my best supporting actor, and best supporting actress for all the big years. Also going to do adapted and original screenplay, which I'm definitely need AJ's help with. So it'll be interesting to see where this ends by the time that I'm done. But before I do that, I am going to talk Impact. So we started off with our voiceover guy, of course, previously on TNA Impact. And you're going to see my finger for a second, because that's just how it's going to work, because I'm going to get comfortable. Because I'm going to sit with me, chat folks. Stay a while. Now, okay. Of course, last week we saw Hulk Hogan issue an 8-man tournament, I guess you'd call it. Not really a tournament, per se, because a tournament would mean that the 4 men got to go on and broke down to 2 men and then broke down to 1. But no, it was 8 men gunning for the World Heavyweight title shot against Jeff Hardy at Lockdown. And there were some great matches, and by the time it was all said and done, Hulk Hogan was going to make his final decision at the end of Impact, and he was interrupted by Aces and Eights. And Bully Ray came out, and Sting came out, and chased Aces and Eights to the back. So Hogan did not make the announcement. So tonight, we guaranteed we're going to get an announcement. And that's exactly what happened. Of course, like I said, we are live to tape at Wembley Arena. And basically, we had Hulk Hogan come out to start the show. Hogan gets a huge pop from the entire crowd. And the fans even start chanting Hogan. Hogan starts putting over the crowd in general. He says, "This city feels like home, brother." And Hogan was talking about, just like I mentioned, how last week Aces and Eights didn't interrupt his big announcement, and he looks on the bright side, saying this gives him another week to really think about who should get the World Heavyweight title shot at Lockdown, and he was going to make that announcement right here, right now. The #1 contender for Lockdown, Bully Ray. Yeah. Not one of the 8. Not at all. And incidentally, Bully Ray comes out and he's shocked, absolutely dumbfounded. And he gets in the ring, Hogan hands him the mic, and he basically says, he says, "Hulk, I'm injured. I mean, I got a partially torn quad. I mean, it happened during the tag tables match a couple weeks ago." Hogan basically puts over Bully as the toughest son of a bitch in the company, and Ray only says he wanted Hogan's respect. He wants to make He wants to make Hulk as happy as he does making his daughter happy, and he wants to become the World Heavyweight Champion. But before that can happen, he has bigger business to take care of, and he talks about how he wants Aces and Eights tonight, and it's going to be him, Sting, and they need another partner. And obviously Jeff Hardy did not make the UK tour for obvious reasons. Hulk Hogan was the partner. And it worked really well. And you know what? Honestly, I don't care what the storyline is. If anything gets Bully Ray a World Heavyweight title match where he could potentially win the World Heavyweight title on March 10th, I'm a happy guy. Because Bully Ray has come a long way. He's come a long way since My Name is Bubba. He's come a long way since that. He's come a long way since the Dudley Boys, who quite possibly one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Easily the greatest brawling tag team of all time, without any question. And being labeled just a singles wrestler. I mean, just a tag team wrestler. even though he had a couple matches with Taz in ECW when Taz was World Heavyweight Champion. Basically, Bubba Ray Dudley, by and large, was pretty much labeled a tag team wrestler, as was Devon. We fast forward to 2013, and Bully Ray has now lost tremendous amounts of weight. He's in the best shape of his career. He's a great promo, he's great in the ring, and he's headed towards the World Heavyweight title. Devon has been television champion for quite a while, has got an entire stable backing him up, and he's also gone on to a successful singles career. So, props to the former Dudley boys. So, we saw a double and the greatest man who ever lived, Austin Aries, and the It Factor, Bobby Roode, talking backstage. Basically, they were saying, once again, their plan is to take all the gold in TNA. And they're interrupted by Bad Influence, the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels, and Frankie Kazarian. Says they got a big plan tonight, you guys should just follow our lead. So, we get to our first match of the evening, which is an 8-man tag, which is Chavo and Hernandez, who actually got booed on their way out, to be totally honest. Joseph Park and Cowboy James Storm against the aforementioned 4 that just had the backstage segment. And we go back and forth. This is about a 13 minute match. So, we get to the finish. Basically, Storm got the hot tag, and he goes after both members of Bad Influence. He hits closing time. Sean Hernandez tags in, and basically pounces Kaz to the mat. Chavo comes off the top with a frog splash, and there's a last call on Frankie Kazarian, and Park hits the middle rope splash. 1, 2, 3 from Chavo, because Park didn't want to make the cover, and the babyfaces win. Now, in the middle of the match, basically, Aries and Roode left the ring because they were fed up with dealing with Daniels and Kaz. So, I think we have a difference between these two teams. And heel-heel doesn't always work. I think in this case it will. Because you're pushing Aries and Roode as sort of like the tweener team. Yeah, they're TNA's hell no, I get that, 100%. But they do it better. No offense to Bryan Danielson, they do it better. And I like this dysfunctional tag team a lot better than I do most dysfunctional tag teams. And anything to get me Daniels and Kaz against Aries and Roode as soon as humanly possible, I'm a happy guy. So basically, Joseph Park is extremely over in London. And I like the gimmick, I'll admit it straight up. I mean, since Chris Park has become Joseph Park and has got completely away from Abyss, he's rejuvenated his career, and I like it very, very much. I like how they're playing him off as a rookie. I like how they're playing him off as someone who is wet behind the ears and new to the business. I like that. I like that a lot. How they're giving him terminology that doesn't make sense, really, because they just want to mess with him. I like it. I like it a lot. I think it works really well. So, we showed last week how Rockstar Spud had an altercation with Robbie E in the middle of the ring. Basically, Robbie E came out and he called him a pizza delivery boy. He said he's not a rock star. So he basically said, you got to be happy that Bigger Rob's holding me back, bro. I mean he could tear you apart, but no, I could tear you apart, but it doesn't matter because he's gonna hold me back. As long as he holds me back, nothing's gonna happen to you. And of course, Robbie T drops the list, and of course, Rockstar Spud clocks him. So that led to dissension and a really awkward scene where he was doing his normal fist pump, and Spud changed his hand to the devil horns, and he was fist pumping the devil horns. Really strange. So, now we've got our first match for Rockstar Spud in TNA, and he's facing Robbie E, and I thought this might actually be maybe a somewhat small feud, but a small feud is over in a week. So, we're going to get to that. So, we do it, it's not very long, the match not long at all, so we start with, we're going to go to the finish here, as usual. Robbie T is once again at ringside with Robbie E, so obviously the dissension has been smoothed over completely from last week. So Robbie E whips Spud in the buckle, goes for the splash, and he misses, and Spud hits a series of clotheslines. Spud hits a satellite into a DDT, which looked amazing. Goes up to the top, goes for the guillotine leg drop, and he moves. Robbie E goes to grab the clipboard, goes to grab the list one more time, and Robbie T is not going to relinquish it that easy. He's just shaking his head. He's like, no, no, and then Spud hits a forward roll and gets the pin. So, the match wasn't the greatest. It's not really, didn't really do much to showcase Rockstar Spud. I mean, I've seen a little bit of his British indie stuff, and he's pretty good in the ring. I mean, the match he had with Party Marty, actually, on British Boot Camp was actually really good. But this match wasn't, and I don't know how he's going to fit in TNA. And, I mean, the fact you beat Robbie E is a former X Division and television champion, as everyone knows, but Robbie E is also really low mid-card. So, we'll see what happens when he gets to matches against people that can keep up with him, like Shima Zion. I mean, Shima Zion, Kenny King, these are all people that I think will have good matches with Rockstar Spud, especially Shima Zion. Shima Zion is going to have a great feud with Rockstar Spud if they really push it the right way. So, after the match is over, of course, Robbie E is berating Robbie T and basically just browbeating him. Then he open hand slaps him right in the face. So Robbie T gets pissed off, throws the clipboard down, and starts charging towards him. He takes off his shirt first, obviously, so the cardigan goes bye-bye. And Robbie T stares him down. So I think we're leading towards E and T against each other at, I guess they had Lockdown. I don't think they'll blow it off before then, because we have a while before that. I would say they'll maybe do it on Impact, possibly. I mean, they could do it at Lockdown. I mean, it's possible. So, I mean, they have a couple weeks of television before Lockdown. So, I mean, it's a possibility they could do that. So, maybe. So, Velvet Sky made her way to the ring, looking as gorgeous as ever, as Gail Kim came out second, looking as gorgeous as ever. Brooke Tessmacher came out third, looking great as always, and Tara comes out without Jessie. Of course, Jessie was barred from ringside by Brooke Hogan, and Brooke Hogan, of course, is going to sit ringside for this match. Now we have a four-way elimination match, a legitimate four-way dance for the Knockouts Championship, and basically we get up there. So we're going to go to the different eliminations. So they go back and forth for quite a while. Tara drops Velvet Sky first on the ropes. Tessmacher brings Tara back into the ring. Tara suckers and golds Tessmacher to get in the ring. And boom, body slam, goes for the top rope moonsault, which actually looked awesome, by the way. And Velvet Sky came in, hooks up in your face, and Gail Kim breaks up the pin. So, basically, she picks up her and throws Sky out of the ring. Stacks up Tara, who's unconscious, from the in her face, and 1, 2, 3. So we will have a guaranteed new champion, because the champion's the first one to be eliminated. So, they go back and forth again, and this is between Miss Tessmacher and Gail Kim, so they're going back and forth, and Tara just sulks off to the back. Basically, Tessmacher with the advantage, heads up to the top, and she gets crotched up top, goes for the superplex, and a pyramid spot in a Knockouts match. You'll see that every day. So the pyramid, of course, is the suplex powerbomb combination, and all three women are down. So Velvet goes for the pin on Gail Kim, only gets a 2 count. Goes for a quick pin on Brooke and only gets a 2 count. Goes for in your face again, but Miss Tessmacher rolls her up instead. Sky reverses, roll up in her own, and 1, 2, 3, Miss Tessmacher is eliminated. So we're down to Gail Kim and Velvet Sky. So basically, attack from behind, just a nice Pearl Harbor, and the Let's Go Velvet chant just starts permeating around the Wembley Arena crowd. So Sky gets the boots up in the corner and clotheslines Gail Kim to the canvas numerous times. Gail reverses the whip, tilt-a-whirl, satellite head scissors take over, and Gail Kim fights back with a running dropkick. Kim goes for the cover, and Taryn Terrell breaks up the pin because she saw Gail using the ropes. So Gail rams her shoulder into the midsection in the corner and goes for the big splash, and Sky moves out of the way, goes for a roll-up, and Gail Kim grabs the ropes. Taryn Terrell yelling at her, get off the ropes, get off the ropes, and she tries to block the pinfall attempt, rips her off, sending her back to the canvas. Wow, long day. Velvet Sky hooks up in your face, 1, 2, 3, and we have a brand new Knockouts champion. So it was a big win for Velvet Sky in her return since she came back on the Impact in December that I was at on Disney Day, December 6th. So she returned on the company on December 6th, and she is now Knockouts champion. So now you can push her as Knockouts champion, and I think that works. She's getting better week by week. I mean, she's not as good as she used to be. I mean, she's never been great, but she's not as good as she used to be. So I think as the weeks go by, I think Velvet Sky will get better in the ring. And of course, she looks great as always. So there was always that. So, sorry, the sinuses are driving me insane. So Hogan and Sting are sharing backstage, and they're shaking hands. Sting leaves the dressing room, and he runs into Bully Ray, and Ray's like, "You're okay with this, Ray?" And Sting reassures him. Hogan doesn't reassure him. Sting reassures him. And Ray says, "I'm really excited to be teaming with you and the Hulkster." And Sting just says he's happy again to be tagging with Bully Ray. They actually make a decent tag team, to be totally honest. Sting says, "Let's tear some heads off." And we go to commercial. So, when we come back for commercial, we show AJ Styles' Year from Hell last year. And basically, next week, we are going to get an update on AJ's, where he is, where his headspace is right now, what he's going to do, if he's coming back to the company, if he's leaving the company, what's going on. I think AJ Styles returning to TNA is a good thing, 100%. I've missed AJ in the ring, and honestly, I'd like to see him back in the ring. And he has unfinished business with Daniels and Kaz, obviously. So, we have a recap before the next matchup. Kurt Angle mentoring Wes Briscoe and Garrett Bischoff. And they turn on him, obviously. Of course, Kurt got Wes into TNA in general. And, of course, that brought in Samoa Joe, which, of course, is now teaming with Kurt. So, now we have a tag team match. So, Garrett comes out. And here comes Samoa Joe. And we have our fourth match of the evening. Samoa Joe against Garrett Bischoff. So, nice little 5-minute match. And we get to the mid part. Garrett works over Joe in the corner. Joe's no-selling him completely. Joe hits the jabs. And Bischoff takes him down, choking him on the mat. Joe fights back with headbutts. And Bischoff hits the thumb to the eye. Takes him down with a running shoulder tackle. Side headlock, Joe elbows out, rakes the eyes again, does Bischoff, but this time he runs straight up into a back elbow. Joe goes for clotheslines, hits the Yakuza kick, and the running senton. Joe kicks Bischoff in the corner, and the running kick in the head, which, I don't know this reviewer here, obviously, what he's referring to is the fact he knocked him in the corner, and he got him laid out, sprawled out on the turnbuckles, and he hit the Shinjiro Otani boot scrape, the face wash, if you call it in America, which, I'll give props to Todd Kennelly. He is actually a commentator kind of like myself, like mentioning like little PSs and actually calling moves the correct Japanese name. I think Mike Tenay used to do before he became the head announcer. But when it came down to it, I mean, he's the play-by-play guy, but he's not really doing play-by-play. So, basically, you had this, and he hits the Otani boot scrape, and he actually called it an Otani boot scrape, and that was awesome. But basically, Joe goes up for the muscle buster, and Wes Briscoe interferes to cause the DQ. Now, I want to talk about something else real quick. I want to go back to something I didn't forget it, but I neglected to mention in the beginning of the match. Now, this was a couple segments ago. In the beginning of the match with Rockstar Spud and Robbie E. Rockstar Spud got caught in the jaw with something. And the whole match, he was selling his jaw. Like, basically, like Robbie E dislocated his jaw. I don't know if that exactly happened. I think it might have, actually. And if you want to go back, let me see where it is. It is not in this recap. So, I'm just going to say that he dislocated his jaw and, of course, snapped it back into place. And he actually worked the whole match with a dislocated jaw. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just going to go with that. Now that we're going away from that, with my weird means we're going back. Now we're going forward, and we're going to talk about it after the match was over. Basically, I like Garrett as a heel. I think he works. I mean, he's got his dad's, not necessarily his dad's charisma, but he has his dad's hateability. And you just want to slap Garrett Bischoff right in the face. And when he was a babyface, it didn't work. It's kind of like how when Marcus Alexander Bagwell debuted in WCW. And people weren't really into him. When Eric Watts debuted in WCW, people really weren't into him. Eric Watts is a better example. Actually, there's two examples for this. Eric Watts fits because, of course, he's the boss's son, and he was pushed down our throats. And had those horrible matches with Arn Anderson for the television title. And they even gave him the STF, which really didn't work for him. And he eventually ended up in Techno Team 2000 in WWF. So, that's interesting. Now, Eric Watts is one example. Marcus Bagwell is another example. Like Bagwell, you just, like I said, you have the kind of, just like Bischoff, he has this type of face you just want to slap. And when he became Buff Bagwell and he became a heel, it worked a whole lot better for him. Because Marcus Bagwell was trying to be the white meat babyface, and it doesn't really work very well for him. But Buff Bagwell worked really well because it fit his personality. Bagwell's a really cool guy. I've worked several shows with him. But, not to name drop or anything. Now, so they had the double team on Angle. I mean, wow. I'm going to go ahead of myself. They had the double team on Joe. Kurt Angle runs out for the save, chasing him in the back. He gets on the mic and he says he's happy he got Wes Briscoe the contract because the pain he is going to inflict is going to be legal now. And at Lockdown, they're going to meet in the ring, one-on-one in a steel cage. That should be pretty good, actually. Just don't let Briscoe talk. Let someone else talk for him. I don't care who it is. Just let someone talk for him. I'd rather Mike Knox talk for him than anybody, really. So Kenny King comes out, and he's going to be facing Rob Van Dam for the X Division Championship. Another 6-minute match. And as usual, we fast forward to the finish here. I'll go, in this case, the second paragraph. So, King gets a snap suplex, and it's a roll through, and he mounts him and goes for the striking shots. Goes for a couple pinfalls. Only gets the 2 count. Van Dam kicks him in the face while lying down. King responds with the eye rake and locks him up in a seated abdominal stretch. RVD makes it up to his feet, goes to break it out, but King connects with a forearm in the back. RVD sends him down with a spinning leg lariat during a corner splash attempt. He rams King face first in the turnbuckle and then kicks him right in the face. Van Dam follows up with 2 clotheslines and a super kick. He goes for the monkey flip. King lands on his feet. Looked amazing. And he goes for the shotgun knees. He locks up a version of the Royal Flush, which didn't really work out too well, and goes for the pin, but only gets a kick. Wow, only gets the 2 count. I wasn't trying to say gets a kick out, but that didn't work. Anyway. In his true Elijah Burke style, he pulled the knee pads down for the shotgun knees, and Van Dam moved out of the way this time. Rolling Thunder, 5-star frog splash, you know how it works. It's academic, 1, 2, 3, and Rob Van Dam retains the X Division Championship. I agree with this reviewer, and it's very true. Time to pull the trigger on Kenny King. And I think he's going to be a tremendous heel to hold the X Division title in the future. And beating Rob Van Dam doesn't mean as much as it used to, but the fact that he is definitely the veteran of the X Division, I would think that him getting the victory, him losing the match to Kenny King is actually going to work really well in the long run. So, give him the X Division title, TNA. I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. So, backstage segment, Brooks trying to talk Hulk out of the match. Says he needs to do it tonight for his family. Hugs his daughter, and Brooks says, "Have fun." So that was fun. Well, something in my eye there. So Devon, Mr. Anderson, and Doc, finally the right 3 members of Aces and Eights, the strongest members of the entire group, come out for the main event. So Sting comes out, Bully Ray comes out, and Hogan's music hits. No Hulk Hogan. Where is he? Where's Hulk Hogan? Is the match going to start? No. Okay, yeah, fine. Let's ring the bell. So, here's what I was thinking. Actually, I'll talk about that in a minute. So, basically, Aces and Eights attack Sting and Bully Ray from the bell, and Devon and Anderson focus on Bully Ray, and Doc is attacking Sting. And, of course, the babyfaces fight back. Taking control as we go to commercial. Now, they go back and forth for quite a while. And, as usual, let's fast forward to the finish. So Bully gets to the tag, Devon holds on, he tags in Mr. Anderson, he hits an elbow drop. Bully uses Anderson's leather vest to get him up, and Anderson drops him once again. Doc tags back in, hits a series of rights in the corners, Ray fights back with chops, and the two trade blows. Bully, Ray, and Doc is going to be a great feud somewhere down the road, and I really think they need to pull the trigger on it. Maybe not yet, but I think it's going to be a main event feud in TNA, and I think it worked really well. Because Luke Gallows is awesome, he's a great brawler, and Bully Ray is awesome and a great brawler, and I think they would have great chemistry if you give Bully Ray the World Heavyweight Championship. And I think that actually might happen sooner rather than later. So, alright, Devon tags in, Sting tries to rally the crowd to wake him up, and Devon hits the ropes, and spear. Sting hot tag to Bully Ray. Actually, hot tag from Bully Ray, and lays weights to all the members of Aces and Eights. Sting ducks the clothesline, Doc takes Devon down instead, so Sting goes for the Scorpion Death Drop. 1, 2, Anderson breaks up the pin. So Sting drops Anderson, sets up for the was up headbutt, and Aces and Eights are at ringside with Brooke Hogan in their grasp. And we find Hulk Hogan, shirt ripped, grasping at his knee, laying in a heap on the ramp. So, you went with Hogan getting jumped by Aces and Eights in the back. Now, okay, jump Aces and Eights in the back. So you've got Mr. Anderson, you've got Devon, you've got Doc. So who jumped Hulk Hogan? Let's look at this. Mike Knox? Okay, I believe that. Garrett Bischoff and Wes Briscoe? Yeah, there's strength in numbers. What about Taz? He could have thrown a few blows in, you never know. But he was at the broadcast table, unless he disappeared for a few minutes. I don't recall that on commentary. Excuse me. So Hogan got jump Aces and Eights, and of course he was unable to be in the match. So of course London gets robbed of seeing Hulk Hogan's first televised match in years. By years I meant since Bound for Glory 2011, which was so long ago. So long ago. Anyway, so they're down, and Sting ends up getting distracted. He walks into a big boot from Doc, and 1, 2, 3, Gallows gets the pin. So Aces and Eights win, just like the Shield won an Elimination Chamber and again on Raw. So it makes sense to put the stable over. You have to make the group credible, or it's not going to matter when the baby faces get their due. When the baby faces get their final win, it's not going to be credible if you just have the heels lose all the time. And that's basically what Aces and Eights do. They lose all the time. But this went a long way, and I think it worked really well. And then after the match was over, basically, Aces and Eights just destroyed Sting in the middle of the ring while Brooke was checking on Hulk on the entrance ramp. And Bully Ray was checking on Hulk on the entrance ramp. And then they posed in the show. So that was an interesting impact. I personally enjoyed it. And actually, I mean, storyline progression, it worked pretty well. Give Kenny King the X Division Championship. Put Bad Influence against Aries and Rude as soon as humanly possible. I think there's money to be made with Doc against Bully Ray in a feud. Give Mr. Anderson more in-ring time with Aces and Eights. He doesn't really have much. He's basically just in the background most of the time. And obviously that means that Garrett Bischoff is going to be in Lethal Lockdown at Lockdown. And it also means that Samoa Joe is going to be at Lethal Lockdown at Lockdown. Because you have Team TNA against Aces and Eights, and you take the #1 member of Team TNA that was being pushed, would be Kurt Angle, and you put him in a singles match against Wes Briscoe. So has Lethal Lockdown been scrapped? I don't think so. So, these sinuses are terrible. But basically, interesting TNA, very interesting TNA, and that's going to be the last bit of wrestling I talked this weekend. Actually, the rest of this weekend is going to be pretty much all Academy Awards. Except for tomorrow, because tomorrow is going to be the final for the foreseeable future. Plus and minus, which we're going to be going to the Magic Kingdom. So, I'm going to get off here. I'm going to get some lunch, because I'm still hungry. Actually, I'm starving. I haven't had anything yet. And until tomorrow, that's all I got to say about that.